We're here at the airport to make note, bring attention to a deadline that is coming up. On the 1st of October in 2020, everyone who flies, travels, enters a federal building will need to have the REAL ID. The first thing that folks want to know about is you can't get it on the same day. The requirements of getting this, it takes a little bit of time. We have to plan ahead. And I want to thank, and you're going to hear from him in just a minute, Chairman of the Airport Commission, Rick King, and the folks out here who made a great decision, and one that we're collaborating with them to, I believe, be the first airport that opened up a processing station right in the airports for convenience of Minnesotans, so they can get the opportunity while they're traveling, go online, do all the preliminary work that they need to do, and then stop in here with these folks who are with us to process that ID. This is going to take us some time to get these done. We're working with the legislature to make sure that we have a capacity to be able to surge with the need that will come. Minnesota, as you all know, took quite a bit of time to get us to the point where we were ready to implement REAL ID. That ended up creating quite a backlog. I do want to thank the folks at DPS who are working on this. Since September, we've gone from 7% of Minnesotans with REAL ID to 13.2% of people with REAL ID. So we've doubled the number, but that puts us at about 600,000. We potentially, certainly, are asking all Minnesotans who will be traveling in the future, entering federal buildings, to transfer over to REAL ID, especially those that know they have travel plans coming up here in the coming months. So I am honored to be joined by two incredible public servants. The first is Commissioner John Harrington of the Department of Public Safety.
Good morning. The Department of Public Safety is working to make sure that Minnesotans who need REAL ID on October 1st, 2020 can get it. Now and I've been literally going out every place I can and saying to anyone who will listen, please apply for your REAL ID as soon as you possibly can. Because we know that on October 1st, 2020, you're going to need a REAL ID to get on a domestic flight or to enter any federal facility. The image I've painted for folks is this. It's October. People are going on vacation, and grandma is standing outside the gate watching her grandchildren fly away on time. That's not acceptable. That is not the image we want. We want grandma and her family and everybody else on that plane going wherever they need to go. And so we need everyone that hears this to go out and get their REAL ID. We will tell you that REAL ID is the standard for getting on airplanes, but enhanced ID will also work. You can also use ID cards and passports, but REAL ID is a simple, surefire way to make sure you're able to do that. Many of the folks that you see are walking around today already have their REAL ID. We've done some really good work in terms of getting people there, get this motivated and get this moving. And one of the things that we're doing is to open this airport office here behind us. I think that it really is, it speaks to us starting to think outside of the box. It's not a matter of folks just having to show up to the deputy registers. It's a matter of saying, we're going to go to you. We're going to reach out to you. We're going to be out where you are, where it's the most convenient and the most easy so that you can get your REAL ID. Staff is here and we'll be here to answer REAL ID questions. And as the governor already mentioned, about 13.5% of Minnesotans already have it. That 13.5% means we got a long way to go before we get to 100%. But really, the point that I really want to, you need and want to get your REAL ID by October 1st. At the latest, I need you to come down and get your REAL ID application in by June 15th. June 15th will guarantee that you get your REAL ID by that October 1st deadline. If you do it after that, you may be standing with grandma looking as the flight pulls away. Right now, we're processing applications that are dated back from January 3rd. And we know that it's a complicated process. We have a great pre-application system on our website, And we really think people, I've talked to a lot of my friends and a lot of my family that have gone and done the pre-app, and they're telling us it makes life so much simpler when you do the pre-app and you come with all the right documents. There's a lot of conversation you're going to hear in the next few months about Real ID. This is just one point in time, but I really appreciate the governor being here to highlight the importance of this. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Rick King from the Metropolitan Airports Commission, who has been our partner in this. And in fact, I will tell you that this is absolutely one of Rick King's brainchilds to make sure that folks at the airport can get their Real ID and can apply right here and right now. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to open this Real ID station inside security at the Metropolitan Airports Commission. This is the first airport in the United States, to our knowledge, that has opened a Real ID station inside security. This is a place where the 40 million passengers who come through this airport every year actually spend time waiting. They're either waiting because they got here to get through the line, the 2 hours early part, or they may be connecting on flights. Why not take advantage of the downtime that people have and allow them to either learn about Real ID and what they need to do, even if they live in another state, or to actually process their own Real ID. We have people that come in here week after week. They know when they're traveling. All they have to do is pre-register, and one of those weeks they can actually do the application. We've already had some come. October 1st, the deadline, and as Commissioner Harrington said, I think we all need to prepare for that. I want to call out some really phenomenal work by some people here to make this happen. I actually phoned Commissioner Harrington on January 9th and asked him if we could do this together. Before I even finished the ask, he said yes. That's the kind of government that we want to have in the state of Minnesota. That's the kind of government that the Walz administration has tried to ask people to look at and be. Do things innovative, try the new things, make them work, or as he has said before, fail fast if it's not going to work. This is going to be one of those that works like a charm. So I appreciate the support of the Department of Public Safety. Think about that. This location from January 9th to today, less than 2 months, up and going and processing people as of Monday. That's pretty amazing, pretty fast work. I really appreciate the work of the Department of Public Safety, also the people at DVS, of course, Vehicle Services, and the people that work in the organization that I'm the chair of, the MAC, the Metropolitan Airports Commission. A lot of the people that did the work to set things up were on our staff there. So think of that, the combination of the MAC, DPS, DVS organizations got this up. I think it's a fantastic example of what you can do in partnership between different agencies and organizations. I really appreciate the governor's leadership on this, because from the messages I get, no matter what area I work with him on, are let's partner to make things better for government and make things better for the citizens. And there's got to be 40 million people this year that are coming through here that are going to be really happy. Only 34% of the people in the United States have gotten their Real ID. We're a little bit behind even the US. We need to up the Minnesota part so that we don't have, as Commissioner Harrington described, unhappy non-travelers after October 1st. I really appreciate everybody being here, and congratulations to all that made this open. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Thank you, Governor. Thank you to Rick. We know how proud we are of this airport. I want to thank some other folks here, our federal partners, TSA, and the folks who work, our fabulous partners, continuing to try to make the air travel experience as pleasurable as possible for folks. And I think Rick did sum it up. One of the roles that we want to see is a responsive state government that tries to make life a little easier for folks as they adhere to the rules that came down and the mandates around Real ID. I'd also like to thank our partners in the airlines. I know we have representatives here from Delta, partners in this. They're using their ability to reach out and educate their flyers about the need to get this. That partnership really matters, so we're grateful for that. So for everyone else, I think it's just start and talk to your neighbors, talk about how you can do this. want to make this as painless and as simple and as convenient as possible. And I want to thank all the folks. As Rick said, my charge to our state agencies are be creative, lean into things that make it a little bit easier for Minnesotans, and let's try and think big. Rick, his team, Commissioner Harrington, his team, the folks here at this airport did something that nobody else in the country has done, open this. I'm pretty certain there'll be other states and airports follow us very quickly, because this is a model that's going to work. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions, or more importantly, have Rick and Commissioner Harrington answer any, maybe.
Governor, are you anticipating some sort of train wreck if there isn't? That's our governor.
Yeah, hey, thank you. Yeah, the question was, maybe a mixed metaphor with a train wreck on this, but the question was, are we expecting problems? I think we need to be very candid with people. I am deeply concerned about this. It's why early on I started asking my administration to make this a priority. Those of you who've covered us a little bit, I talk about this constantly. Commissioner Harrington talks about it. The folks out here at the airport actually put this in. I think the thing I would ask the press to do, much like a lot of things that we need, is we need to get the message out to Minnesotans that they need to get this done. Because I do, as you say, I worry what it looks like, and I don't think Commissioner Harrington's example, that will be a reality come October 1st if we don't get this right. And I, to be clear, the resources that are in place and the time it takes to process these, even at a very high level of efficiency, we're talking about June 15th. I would just like to put it out there, our legislative partners have been fabulous working with us on these type of issues. They were there when they worked with Mr. King on MNLARS and the MNLARS fix. It is my hope that I can go to the legislature, do something at a bit of a surge type of ask, and maybe get that June 15th date pushed back. But for those who are listening, I don't want to send a message that says, oh, they'll give us more time, we'll be able to get it. I wouldn't bet on it. And if you want to know for certain, June 15th is that date. My pledge is to do everything I can to shorten the time that it takes to get that, but there is just a set amount of time that it takes to do all of the paperwork. You can't do it any faster, and the issue comes is how much capacity we have to do it. So yes, I anticipate there could be troubles on this, those numbers of 13%. We're not the only state. At the National Governors Association a couple weeks ago, as we all met, but many of them had a head start on us because it took us a while to finalize Minnesota's requirements.
On for anyone on why more Minnesotans aren't applying, why we're at that 13%?
Yeah, we could probably give some insights off the commissioners come up. I think one of the things was this became a huge fight, and I went back and looked at some of the floor fights again that went about this. Remember that this requirement came out of the Patriot Act and the post 9/11 world. There were concerns on many fronts, one being privacy issues that are always legitimate and should be debated in great detail. I think that long-term kind of drawn out when we really wanted to get this done, a lot of other states finalize their rules. And then in Minnesota, because of some of those debates, we have added things on top of that. So this is not a case of that our Department of Vehicle Services can just take a template that was right there. Our legislature asked them to do some other things. And then I think I'll let these folks have it. I think procrastination is just one of the things that we always are fighting against. And it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I think folks think they have that driver's license in their pocket, they're good, and that will make a difference. So this is really, and this is where all of you are, I'm grateful for the help, it's an education campaign. So Commissioner, do you have any insights?
I can echo the procrastination piece of this. If you think about the fact that this came out in like 2005, became the federal regulation, but Minnesota didn't pass their law until 2017. So we began processing real IDs in 2017, and the hope was that people would, as they were renewing their driver's license, jump on the idea of getting real ID. And a lot of them basically said, I got 5 years, I got 3 years, I got a couple years before I got to worry about that. And that's what they did. They sort of simply kicked the can down the line, waiting, and now the deadline is looming months, not years away. And so we are continuing, and we started this last fall as we continued to see that we were not getting the number of people applying. Right now, we're getting almost half, a little over half of all of the applications for driver's license renewals are now for real ID or enhanced driver's license. But But in order to make our number, that needs to be closer to 75 or 85% of every reapplication has to be a Real ID application. And that's why we're here today. We're here to try and encourage people who are thinking, I got lots of time on this one, to recognize time's ticking and it's not going to get better. And frankly, the more people we bring into the system, the more the system is clogged up. So we want to get people to do this at the front end now when we have more capacity, because if you wait till October and think you're going to just go down and you're going to pick up one the day of your flight, it's just not going to happen.
Any other questions today, folks? Just to build on that, I actually went down to try and get a Real ID recently. Got in an hour before the office closed, and I filled out all the forms and everything, and they said, we can't even talk to you. I mean, are there plans to add extra office hours or in addition to this office?
Adding extra offices, adding extended hours, adding, as we did on a different case, adding Saturdays as the legislature to make sure that we can make that happen. So yeah, we recognize that as the surge grows, we're going to need to be in as many places as possible to try and facilitate that. And one of the things that has really helped is having folks do the pre-app that's on our website. Doing the pre-app really does speed up the time. When I talked to Ken Buna from FAST, who's processing these, he tells me that once you get to the window, the time frame from window to you're finished, if you've done the pre-app, is with minutes. We just have to figure out how to move the line getting to the window faster. And that's what we're working on. Continue to build the capacity of DVS to be able to accept the surge build.
Can you talk about, maybe this is the question, what are the most common missteps that people come to apply for Real ID?
The most common ones are having a laminated Social Security card, which the feds did not accept. Not having your, they ask for a bill that has your current address on it. Most people take the bottom half of the bill and think, okay, I've got a bill. Well, the bottom half of the bill does not fit the federal requirements. Birth certificates have been also really tricky. And then especially for folks that have hyphenated or have multiple names where they're married or they've recently gotten married and they have a different last name that's on their passport or on their birth certificate, that has been a real stumbling block. So the multiple names, the Social Security card, birth certificates that are not the original birth certificate, all of those have been stumbling blocks that we've seen, and the bill. A lot of folks have brought in their paycheck, because that's one of the things that we say you will accept, except that a lot of paychecks, because of privacy concerns, no longer have your address on your paycheck. Well, the address is what they're looking to confirm, and so you bring in your paycheck because it says on the form a paycheck is acceptable, but it doesn't have the address on it because your company doesn't have that on there because they want. We understand the privacy concerns. So those are 4 of the ones that I've heard most often.
I would, if I could echo, because the gentleman's question is, as the governor and the chief executive of this state, your experience and your interaction with state government is critically important to me, and I think us understanding that a lot of these are federal requirements, it's our responsibility to try and educate the public the best we can and then make that experience so you don't have that. Asking someone to come and stand in line for hours to get an ID is unacceptable, and we understand that. I'm just deeply concerned, as you said, and the team down there is doing a fabulous job. Think about it, in the last 4 months, they processed more of these than they have in the last 3 years, because now that's happening. And if people listen to what we're saying today, it's going to make their jobs even a lot harder. And the fear that I have, and I think the question you asked is, if everybody does this at the last minute or everybody does it at one time, we clog that system. And so I assure you, we're looking at fixes around that. We're looking at surge capacity, but we need folks to help us and understand that these are requirements that were put in by the federal government. Processing these just have to follow the rules to get there, and that's why this gets clogged up.